All right, Jeff Goodman is here with us now. So is Tommy Giles. Jeff, how should Celtics fans like me be feeling today? Should we be so angry? Because I'm just got an anger burning inside me.
Man, first of all, I hope Deuce Tatum doesn't run into you anytime soon, because that kid's he's gonna throw haymakers at you. I would run the other way if you see Deuce Tatum. But listen, I think you have a right to be disappointed, no doubt. I'm not sure angry is the right word, because this team was 25-25 in late January. I think you should be happy that they're here at this point. You should be happy that they're fighting the defending champs. It came right down to the end. I know they blew a 14-point lead. I get it. They also won in Milwaukee 72 hours ago, so the series is not over. You know, to me, dejected, despondent, fine, angry, no.
Here's my thing, though. I'm angry at how they played, right? Like, I'm not angry that they lost. Teams, like, you might lose to the defending champions, Giles. But for me, it's the way that they played. It's that they got complacent, that they thought, well, we can kick back and relax because this one's in the bag.
Yeah, I guess I'm at the point where I'm not happy that they're here, because I actually think that they're better than the Bucks at this point. Without Chris Middleton, I think the Celtics are better than the Bucks. So I went through all the grief stages and everything else last night, stunned, and then depressed and despondent and everything else. But by this afternoon, you have to start turning the page and looking forward and saying, can they still win this series? And I believe that they can still win this series. You just can't dwell on what happened last night in a game that they did give away. So, yeah, it's easy to be disappointed with it, and you should be disappointed if they lose the series. They did have a great season, but at the same time, I still think they're better than the Bucks right now, with the Bucks not having Chris Middleton.
Yeah, Goodman, you know this isn't a town that's just like, at least we got to be there. That was fun and exciting. Thanks for the show, everybody. Like, everyone wants them to win, but you think that that maybe everyone is overreacting to the idea that this thing ended last night. Why do you think the Celtics still have a shot?
Well, they just won in Milwaukee. I know Al Horford looked like Florida Gator Al Horford the last time they were in Milwaukee, but still, absolutely. Marcus Smart had 1 assist last night. The last 2 losses, he's had 3 assists, 6 turnovers. The ball has to move, and that's the key. I thought it got stagnant, like you said, especially with Tatum, but really throughout in the fourth quarter, whether it was they were just trying to protect the lead or they just got away from what has made him really good the second half of the season, which is sharing the ball, passing up on good shots to get great ones.
Yeah, they did not do that in the fourth quarter last night, hence my anger and disappointment. All right, Chris Forsberg is already in Milwaukee. He joins me and Jeff Goodman. Chris, what is, from your vantage point, the biggest reason the Celtics lost last night? I said off the top of the show that I thought it was Jayson Tatum reverting to bad habits. And when your star doesn't play well and doesn't take control, that sort of feeds into the rest of your team.
Sure, but I think there's blame to go around everywhere. I felt like everybody had a bad moment. Jalen checking back in, it was a little cold. Marcus with the late drive wasn't crisp. So I think there's blame to go around everywhere. Even Ime, who has been pushing all the right buttons throughout this playoff series, maybe could have just corralled them a little bit earlier. And it just got away. And unfortunately, this is 2021 Celtics, where late in the game when they need 1 possession, 1 stop, 1 bucket, 1 whatever, and they couldn't get it. And I thought those days were behind us, but unfortunately they reared their ugly head again. And so, but like, I kind of subscribe to what Jayson and Marcus said there. It's like, you can sit here and lament it, and I'm sure film wasn't fun today, but ultimately you just got to be on to game 6 and finding a way to get this back to Boston, because we can sit here and nitpick every little thing that went wrong, and you're 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 everything away from winning that game. But does you no good now? You got to turn the page and figure out how you're going to win game 6.
I thought it was more that they didn't move the basketball, Chris. You know, in the fourth quarter, They got away from what's made them really good and changed their season, which is sharing the ball, moving it, and getting good shots and not settling. And I thought Jayson Tatum settled. I thought they made some poor decision-making. Jaylen Brown, as good as he was in the third quarter, I thought in the fourth quarter, made a couple ill-advised decisions. But I think it was, again, a team effort, like you said, blame to go around everywhere.
You know, Goodman, watching that game last night, I felt more like it was the Celtics losing the game than the Bucks winning the game. And that's not to take anything away from Milwaukee. Like, they took advantage of every single mistake that the Celtics made. But the Celtics just kept shooting themselves in the foot after one time after another, if they just make a couple of small adjustments, they win that game again. Do you agree, or do you think it was the Bucks, that the Bucks were just that much better in the end than the Celtics?
I trust the Bucks. That's what it is. I mean, they just won the title. I trust the Bucks. I don't yet trust the Celtics to win these big games, close games. They blew out a lot of teams this year in the regular season. They blew out the Nets in the first round of the playoffs. I don't think they've been in these games against teams that have this championship DNA like the Bucks do in moments like this. I mean, we saw it. Giannis, obviously. Drew Holiday was terrific. Pat Connaughton. They've just – I love the team that John Horst has put together around Giannis, because to me, it's a bunch of high-character winning basketball players who are about the right things. That's not to say the Celtics aren't, but sometimes they get away from, again, the way they played most of the second half of the year.
So I'm conflicted here. In part, I want to give the Celtics, okay, this core hasn't been in big game situations together as it is now, right? Like, Al left and came back. But then I look at it, and Jayson Tatum's been in one game away from the NBA Finals and dunking on LeBron and trying to solve that away. Jaylen Brown has played a ton of those games. And Al Horford has been 133 playoff games in his career. I'm not sure why they're not a little bit more crisp in those moments. And I understand the whole championship DNA stuff, but that's like a two-player team right now on the other side. Like, Drew and Giannis have been phenomenal and awesome, but like the Celtics have more depth than this Milwaukee team. And I think part of the infuriating part about where they are right now in this series is that if the Celtics are a little bit crisper at the end of game 3, if they're a little bit crisper at the end of game 5, we're talking about the Eastern Conference Finals. And so I can't just give the Celtics a pass in terms of, oh, that's a championship team on the other side. Like, the Celtics have been in big games. They need to be better, and I don't quite understand why they revert to those bad habits in that instance. And if they're going to find a way to win this series, they need to make sure they don't do that.
I will say this, Chris. I do still see a bit of, there's some immaturity on the Celtics in the way that they handle themselves, in the way they get frustrated when calls don't go their way, when they do revert to bad habits and they don't listen to Ime Udoka. And while both Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been there before, I would say that last year and this year is really the first time that this has been their team, that they are the focal points of everything, that they haven't brought in another big-time, big name to supplement them.
They were the only guys in 2019.
But they were young and nobody expected them. And it's like, to me, when you start to evolve, I think one of the biggest issues is that they are evolving into stars. And sometimes they want to be a star so badly. Like last night, to me, it felt like Jayson Tatum was trying to outduel Giannis, not beat the Bucks. He wanted to prove to everybody, I'm the best player on the floor. I'm going to show you what I can do. And he actually got away from what he should be doing.
I don't disagree, but I just feel like we always default to this idea that they're young and that they're still growing. And there's certainly growing pains as a group and figuring out how it works. But it's like at some point we just have to be like, they're superstars at this point. How do they get this team to the finish line? How do they be better in those moments? And my biggest fear is we're going to look back at the end of this all and go, man, it was so wide open and the Celtics had a great opportunity to finish this off, but they just weren't ready for the moment. And you can't ever be guaranteed this is going to happen again. So they need to be better.
Goodman, I know you love Jayson Tatum. How do you feel he's played in the series?
Not as well as he should. I mean, obviously, again, you look at it last night at the end of the game. Go get the basketball. Go get the ball. You're the guy that we want to see. As much as Trenni, you're saying, he's taking ill-advised shots, you still want the ball in his hands at the end because he's become, to me, not a one-dimensional player anymore, not just a scorer. So you throw a double at him, he can find somebody like he did Peyton Pritchard earlier in the quarter for an easy basket. So I would have liked to have seen him there. Demand, come to the basket, ball and get it so that Marcus Smart doesn't have to take that drive.
Back here with Tom Giles and Jeff Goodman. Afterwards, and Jayson Tatum spoke to this, like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to be in here pouting and being upset? Like, we just got to fix it, get back together. We know we've won there before. Go in and take care of our business on Friday night. Giles, you said that you feel like they could very well come back and play a Game 7 at the Garden. Why are you so confident that they can do that?
Take care of the basketball. rebound the basketball, and move the basketball. I feel like if you do those three things, you're a better team than the Milwaukee Bucks right now. Continue to move it, push the pace. I hate seeing them slow it down and kind of play that ISO ball, but if you limit the turnovers and rebound the ball and stop giving up second chance points and then continue to move it on offense, make Milwaukee work on defense, I think the Celtics can beat Milwaukee in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I'm with you, Tom. I mean, I'm with you. I think they can beat them. I don't think you want to come down to a close game in Milwaukee again, but Grant Williams has got to be better. He can't play 30-plus minutes and end up with no points, the goose egg. To me, as you said, the Celtics collectively are a better team, but that means their bench has to be better. And I love what they were doing going at Grayson Allen, really defensively, and trying to, whether it was Jaylen Brown or whoever was on him, trying to pick on him. I think they got to do that again. And then they're going to go Portis. I mean, that's going to happen at some point. And how do you attack Bobby? The bottom line is there's really nobody in Milwaukee that should be able to guard Jayson Tatum. If he's going to the basket, being aggressive, making shots, that's how he's got to start the game, right? Be aggressive and then pick your spots when you're going to take that three. But you got to get to the line. Got to make him have to defend you around the rim.
They've managed, Jeff, to keep games close and win games without a truly great performance in this series from Jayson Tatum. But do they need a great performance from him, or if not him, from Jaylen Brown, in order to extend this series and win this series?
Yeah, I think they need it from both. I mean, I really do. I think they need it from both, unless some of those bench guys, Marcus Smart is a key too here. Jrue Holiday has played like the better point guard, and he is the better point guard overall, but not than the Marcus Smart that played in the second half of this season. Jrue Holiday has been better defensively, obviously in key moments in the last game. He's been better offensively, maybe not shooting percentage, but I think Jrue does so much in terms of intangibles. That's what we've said about Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart has to show up and outplay Jrue Holiday at that point guard position.
Can I ask a follow-up here, Jeff? Because Jayson Tatum, it feels like you got Wesley Matthews or maybe Jrue Holiday at times too, are defending him as soon as he steps over midcourt. And they're basically trying to deny him the basketball, which is why I think the Celtics went early and often to Tatum, just trying to get him the ball, and that led to the ISO offense. Is there a way to get him involved while also trying to get him free of the defender without it becoming ISO basketball? Because that's ultimately what they need.
Yeah, you got to play more ball screen with him. To me, that's the best way to free him up if you can, and let him make decisions. That's what he's shown this year he can do that he hadn't really displayed at the NBA level in the past, right? Play him off screen so he can make decisions, whether it's shooting the ball, whether it's going to the basket, whether it's pulling up, or making people around him better. And that's an advantage that I think he's got that a lot of other guys don't have in this league. There's no real major hole in his game except when he starts settling for that three and it's not going down.
Well, you also need Marcus Smart to pass the ball more and not feel like he has to make big shots. But I wonder, Giles, can he win the point guard battle? Like Jrue Holiday hasn't had a great series either, but when he needs to make good plays, he has made them, and we have not seen that as often from Marcus Smart. And when he has a bad game, the Celtics lose.
Yeah, I think he needs to play as well as Jrue Holiday. If he plays better than him, that's great. I think you win the game if he plays better than him. I think you're right there, and he can still win the game if he plays as good as Jrue Holiday. One thing, though, that we harp on the Marcus Smart assists kind of statistic there, and he's not putting up the assists and the wins that they need him to. I think that's just a result of them not moving the basketball, though. I mean, Marcus Smart's not going to be able to get assists if you dribble down and you take 20 seconds off the shot clock and then you put up an 18-footer falling away from the basket, right? If the ball's moving, that's when Marcus Smart's going to put up the bigger numbers in the assist category.
Hey, Goodman, Chris Mannix suggested another way to use Marcus Smart, at least maximize his time out there, and that is to put him on Giannis and have him guard Giannis, because it has been hard to stop him. Grant Williams has done a pretty good job, but there are times then when he gets in foul trouble or he isn't shooting well enough that you can't keep him out on the floor. Do you like that idea of having Marcus Smart on Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Not at all. Not at all. Not because now, too, the problem with Marcus Smart guarding Giannis is going to wear him down. As big, strong, and tough as Marcus Smart is, Giannis can dominate him when he wants to. And Marcus Smart, the old Marcus Smart, you could do that and say, you know what, expend a ton of energy in the defensive end. Well, now he's got a much bigger role in the offensive end, and I think that affects his game on the offensive end. So, no, I would much rather see a combination of Horford and Grant Williams. And I would start the way they did earlier in the series. I would start with Grant and not bring help. And then obviously, if Giannis abuses Grant, you got to start bringing help. But I would start that way and try to limit, again, what the Pat Connaughtons, the Grayson Allens, the others do. That's the key to me. Give Giannis his 35. Yeah. He's going to get it anyway. Just make sure those other guys don't go off.
I'm with you. With you on that one.
100%, because Giannis, I don't think, even if he plays well, can beat the Celtics alone.